So welcome back to Code with Shashank, and let's continue with our to-do app. In the last video, we have styled this to-do list, added this scroll wheel and added image inside this touchable opacity component, which is more like a button. And now if you are not watched that video, I'll leave the link in the cards and down in description. You can watch that and come back to this one. So let's just continue with this app. Now the UI of our app looks pretty good, and the only thing missing is the font family to our text. Let's add that also. Let's add a style.styles.txt. I'll add that over here. And give it a font family of Poppins regular. And this looks pretty cool. And after every item we added, I want to reset this text input to empty string. I'll do that inside here in to-do input.js and add that code over here and say set inf_val back to empty string. And you can see after adding, the text input is cleared. Let's add some logic to this tick button also. Let's add a on press on this touchable opacity like we did it in button, and this takes a function. Let's define that over here. Const done button click handler. Name it whatever you want. And whenever I click this button, I want to update state here in app.js. But I don't use this to-do list directly in my app.js, but I use that from this to-do list container. So first of all, I need to pass this through to-do list container. Let's say props dot done button clicked and execute that. Here I don't want to pass anything as an argument. Let's add this to it here. Done button clicked handler, and make sure you add this property over here. Let's add this also to the new line, and this should be of type function, and the function we want to use is we get that from props in our app.js, and the function will be done button clicked, which we will get from here from our app.js. I forgot one thing. I need to pass some data to it to identify which item I have clicked, and we identify that by this ID property. So what we need to do is first of all pass this data to our to-do list. So I will not just pass the value, but I'll pass the whole item itself, and then I'll say props dot data. I'll rename this to item data, which was previously called value, and I'll simply say item data dot value. Let's see if this works. Yes, this works. And I also need to pass this ID on which I click the tick button, that is props dot item data dot ID. That will be automatically passed to our app.js. Let's just define that function. Done click handler, and this takes the ID on which we clicked, and according to that I will set to-dos. I'll get the old to-dos, and here I need to set all the element except for the element which has a ID of this, which I get over here. So what I'll do is I'll use a array method called old to do dot filter, and this method takes a function as an argument which takes one parameter, that is each element on that array, that is our to do. This anonymous function actually returns a boolean. If that condition satisfies, then that element will be returned. Let's say to do if the id is not equals to the id which we got, then return that. If it is equal to it, then don't return that id. So let's pass this done button clicked is equal to this function. So let's try this again. Everything is vanished. Okay, we haven't returned our state. We need to return this, and let's add some id, add some to dos, and let's try removing it. You can see this is gone as soon as we click this. And let's just to add one more layer to this. Like, I don't want this to do to go as soon as I click it, because there can be some accidental touches. So first of all, I need to alert the user that if he is sure about this action. So I'll go to-do list, and first of all I'll alert the user, and I can do that by the method called alert, which is again offered by React Native. And I can call the function that is in that method, that is called alert, which takes 3 arguments. One compulsory argument, that is the title of the alert. That is, over here I'll simply say, are you sure, with the question mark. It actually takes 4 arguments. We can see that over here. First one is title, second one is message, third one is buttons, and fourth one is options. We'll see that over here. The second is the message, that is, are you done with the task? And I'll add a dynamic value because I'm using this backticks, that is props dot item data dot value. And the third argument is an array of objects that defines all the buttons. And the object here will have a property called text, that will be the text of the button. First of all, it will be no, and it will be of style. You have these 3 styles. I'll go with the cancel, and I don't do anything when I click that button. It will by default close that alert. Second button is which says text yes, and the style is default. And on press, I want to execute this function over here. Execute an anonymous function first of all, and pass this argument. Let's save this and test our app, and you can see if we click, we get this alert saying if we are done with this task, and we have 2 buttons saying yes or no. If we press no, the task is going to remain. If we press yes, the task is gone. So we added this functionality. The next functionality we want to add is to edit our to-do, because there can be some mistakes while we type, or we simply want to edit the to-dos. The user can edit the to-do by simply long pressing on this to-do. So we need to listen to the long press, and we cannot do that with view. Instead of view, what we will use is another component offered by React Native, that is pressable. Now pressable is a component which gives you many more functionalities. You can add many more event listeners, and you can also style that. Like, let me show you. I'll replace this view with pressable. I'll leave the style as it is, and you can see if I hit control space on this, you can see there are a lot of attribute which we can use, like on press in, press out, and I believe you have attribute like touch start and all those things. You can also play around with that. What I'll be using is on long press, and that will be a function. So since I plan to change some of the UI of our application, so I need to use some state, and I'll use that over here. And the state will say whether we are in edit to do mode or we are not. I'll simply say is edit mode, and that will be a boolean which will be initially false. And let's define our on long press const on edit to do is equals to on to edit to do handler, and I'll just pass this over here. Whenever I long press this, I want to set is edit mode to true. And whenever this is true, I want to replace this pressable with some other value. Let me just first of all check if it is in edit mode, and this is called the ternary operator. It is like if else but in one line. Here if it is edit mode, I want to add a text input. Make sure you import that over here from React Native and self close this tag. And here I also need to manage its value and also give it the same style as styles dot to do container. I need to manage value, and I will manage that with another state called edited to do, and the initial state will be props dot item data dot value. That will be the value it was initially. And so far let's see how this looks like. I long press this component and you can see I can access this. Now I also want to add some more styles other than to do container. I can do that by simply adding it as an object and spreading the default values and spreading all the values from to do container, and also change the values and give it a name of input. I'll style this input with a font family of Poppins regular, and that is the only style I want to add. And I also want to update our edited to do state, so I want to add on change text like we did in to do input. And this is a function which takes a text input. I'll just simply use this arrow function and set edit to do to the text. And I also want to change this button and change the image inside that button. So for that I will also check if it is edit mode. If it is not, then I will use this require. If it is, then I will require something else that is it is of same path. I'll just add this to a new line, and the image is edit.png. You can see this changes. Now I have changed the image. Now I also want to change its background. For that I need to go to touchable opacity and modify some styles. If it is edit mode, then I want to add some other styles. If it is not, then I want to keep it as the done button itself. If it is edit mode, first of all I want to copy the done button style, because that will have all its padding and all that styles. I don't want to repeat that. And I want to overwrite only one property, that is the background color. That will be this red color, and you can see this changes. And I also need to change the event listener when it is edit mode. So to change that, I will check again if it is edit mode. I want to add some other method. If it is not, I will keep it as done button clicked handler. Edit to do handler. I'll just define that over here. That will be a arrow function that will update our state here in app.js. So we need to do that via to-do list container, like we did our done button clicked handler. Now here, as I did this to done button, I'll execute the props dot edit button clicked, which I expect to get from here this component. And I'll first of all I'll pass the ID, that is props dot item data dot ID, and secondly the value I edited, that is edited to do. I'll save this and add this attribute called edit, and I'll simply pass props dot edit button clicked that I expect to app.js over here. And this will be a function which I will define over here, edit clicked handler, and this will get two parameters, that is the id and the updated value. I'll set to do's. First of all, I'll get all the old to do. And always remember, if you are using an array or an object, never modify and return the old array. You should always create a new object of it. Here I will copy my old to do array and I'll loop through all my new array using a for of loop. And if the id of the to-do list which I am currently at is equal to the id which I am searching for, then I will modify that element's value to be my updated val, and after that I will break through it because I don't want to loop through till the end of my array once I got it, and return the new array, new modified state. And once I save this, if I go ahead and try to edit this by saying edit, and it actually saved. Now the reason the input is not going because we haven't set our isEdit mode back to false. Go to edit to do handler function, and after you execute the edit button clicked function, set isEdit mode to false, and there you go. If I click this, now our to do is updated. And here I have added another attribute to my input field, that is the placeholder, which simply adds this light text upon the input field, which gives the hint to the user what this input field is about. And also let's add a functionality to autofocus on this text input as soon as it appears. For that, I'll go to to-do list, and here where I use text input, I will add another attribute called autofocus and set that to true. And if I try to edit this, you can see the keyboard automatically appears as soon as we enter in edit mode, and we can edit this and reset our value. Now our to-do app is almost complete. The only functionality we need to add is that we need to save this to-dos somewhere, because if I just close this from recent apps and reopen this, our to-dos are gone because it is not saved anywhere, and the state always refreshes once we close our app. So we need to save it somewhere. In the next video, we will learn to save those values in our device. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned.